Welcome to the Sports Talk with Bono, Jay, and House. I'm Tony Bonifero, joined alongside always Jim Monico, and our special guest today, Olympic gold medal winning curler from Sault Ste. Marie, Brad Jacobs. How you guys doing today?
We're good.
Amazing.
Awesome. Jim, we'll let you start with Brad, and go ahead.
Yeah, first off, Brad, thanks for coming on. It's great to have you on here. We usually kind of go through the chronological careers of people when we have them on here. So just, I know you come from a curling family, so tell us how you started, how young you were when you started curling, and how things progressed from there.
Yeah, for sure. So I was 10 years old when my mom brought me to the curling club and signed me up for curling, Monday night elementary school league. And yeah, I was pretty fortunate as a kid. My parents put me in pretty much every sport, let me try everything. And hockey, golf, bowling. I was gymnastics for a little while. I mean, you name it. As a kid, I was fortunate enough to play everything, and even in elementary school, played all the sports: track and field, basketball, you name it. But when I went to the curling club and I started to learn the basics, which actually back then, Tom Coulterman, who was our coach at the Olympics, and he still coaches today. Actually, he coaches the Algoma Youth Thunderbirds team. He's still involved with the sport. And coaching, but he was the guy who was teaching the elementary school league at the time, and I'll never forget that. He was big on drilling in the basics to us when we were kids, and I was 10 years old, and the curling rocks are like 40 pounds. I was always a little kid. I remember going to the curling club early on as a kid and trying to pick up the rocks, and they felt super heavy. You know, it takes a long time to develop the fundamentals, especially when you're that young, to be able to push a rock. And really what you want to do is you want to use your body weight. You don't want to use your arm to push a rock. You want to kick off out of the hack, right? And use your body. So it takes time to develop the strength. And Tom was big. I don't think we threw a rock for the first 5 or 6 weeks when I was a kid. He wouldn't let us throw one down to the other end. It was just basics, fundamentals every week. And I remember just being young and salivating. I was chomping at the bit. I want to throw a rock down to the other end. And sure enough, by the time he finally let us do that, because we had done the fundamentals so much the first several weeks, it was actually pretty easy. And I remember the first day that we were able to throw a rock, I mean, I was throwing them up and down. And the last one I threw at practice that day on that Monday night, it hit the button, and I was hooked.
Yeah. So at what point in time do you start realizing, hey, I'm really good at this sport? Well, we got a good team, we got good guys together. Something could really happen here. How old were you when it started getting serious, basically?
Yeah. Well, when we were kids, so it was about grade 5, grade 6. I would say by grade 7 or grade 8, we started to get really good. And we would, but fast forward into the high school years. And what I ended up doing was, worked at the golf course in the summer, scrubbing clubs, driving the carts around and cleaning them, right? And in the wintertime, I worked at the curling club. So for myself, I was at the curling club from the time I was about, say, 13, 14 years old till right into university. I was at the curling club almost every single day in the wintertime. And, they say it takes like 10,000 hours of something to become an expert. Right? Call it whatever, an artist, a pilot, a musician, any athlete or business, whatever. And I kind of go back, after I read that the first time, and I was much older later in life, I kind of realized, man, I got my 10,000 hours in at this thing by the time I was like 18. And that was pretty cool. So for me, a regular sort of week would be every single day from, call it October till roughly April, would be at the curling club, either practicing and throwing rocks, playing in men's league, playing in high school league, sparring for other men's teams. I did that often as well. I also worked at the curling club for Ian Fisher, the ice maker. He's still the ice maker there today. Actually, really good friend of mine and someone that I look up to. And so I learned about making ice. I learned how to run the scraper. I started off as the vacuum boy, vacuuming the back carpet, cleaning the windows, and just doing odds and ends around the curling club. But eventually got to being able to pebble the ice and and help maintain it and stuff. So I was obsessed. I was absolutely obsessed with the sport of curling since I've been a kid. And, it's really no surprise that we've got to the point that we're at today as a team based on how much time and effort and how much time we spent at the curling club.
Then you started hitting the national stage as a junior team. Is that what happened? Is that your first time competing nationally as juniors?
Yeah. So we were our team back in 2005 went to the junior national championships. It was the Karcher Junior Nationals back then, and I remember we were the first team out of Sault Ste. Marie, junior men's team, to go to the nationals, I believe, in 50 or 55 years. So that was pretty special, and that event for me. A lot of people, if you will say, what's your most memorable memorable moment in the sport, in curling? And for me, I go back to that first provincial win as a junior. I was my first year skipping as well. Yeah, it was my first year playing skip. I was 17. I was 17 going on 18. I was 18 years old at the national championship. And that really, for me, sort of solidified the belief that, maybe you can give this thing a serious go one day and you can compete at the national level.
Okay, so then fast forward now to your first trip to the Brier. I believe it was with your uncle. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Explain that experience. That must have been pretty special experience.
Yeah, well, and if you look at it, you go back. So Ryan and EJ curled with their dad, and I curled with our uncle. And so Ryan and EJ and myself were their brothers. I'm their first cousin, and Eric and Al are brothers. So we're all related, right? But there's only 4 guys on a curling team, 4 men, 4 women on a curling team, but there was 5 of us. So they played with their dad for a few years early on in men's, and I played with my uncle Al. So we went to the Brier in 2007. Then they went to the Brier in 2008. Those were just unreal years being a kid and going to the Brier. I remember going to the Brier with my uncle Al and Rob Thomas, Lee Toner, Dusty Jacomite back in 2007. It was in Hamilton at the Coliseum there. Big, huge arena, almost too big to hold it, way too big to hold a Brier. But I was just like a kid in a candy store. That was a great experience. And then the year after, Ryan and EJ and my uncle Eric, their dad, went to the Brier, and I went as 5th man. And then after that, we formed our team.
I mean, it must be quite an experience. I mean, I am not a curler, but I'm a big sports fan, and the Brier to me is a fantastic event. I mean, I love to watch it. If I'm home, I'm watching it at night, and it's even more enjoyable watching you guys play. But it's a pretty big event. It must be a lot of fun. And do you get to relax there, or is it all business?
Yeah, that's a good question. It is our Stanley Cup. It's our Super Bowl for curling, and the first few years you go there, it's about gaining the experience. Realistically, you might say that you're going there to win, but you don't have a chance. And it's just about sort of getting in the ring and taking those punches, and gaining that experience and learning how to compete against the top teams in a large event. We went to the Brier a number of times, and then obviously we won that thing in 2013, which was really cool. But for the most part, when we go there, it's all business. It's all serious. The first 3 years we went there, when we were young and we didn't have a chance, we might have had a little bit more fun than we probably should have.
Yeah.
But nowadays and for many years, we go there with the intent to win. And, we want to make sure that we're resting up in between games and doing all the right things heading in, eating properly, exercising, getting good rest, communicating well, all that stuff.
I'll ask you one more question, and I'll pass it over to Bono. I think, I follow all sports. So you go to the Northern Ontario tournament, and especially at this time, in the last 5-6 years, that's got to be a high pressure time for you, because you're a heavy favorite. There's some young rinks that are coming on. I know a few years ago you guys had a good challenge, and that's got to be a real pressure moment, that Northern Ontario tankard, where to get that spot, because I mean, if you don't win, everyone's like, what the heck happened, right? So that's got to be pressure, right?
Yeah, it is. And it's not a whole lot of fun to sometimes compete in that event, especially, as we, like you said, we are the heavy favorites. But what a lot of people don't realize is how good some of the teams are in Northern Ontario. Even though you've never heard of them, they're quite good. And I know that Ryan Fry always used to say that because he had played in various provinces. And when we played with him for many years, he his first provincial, he was like, man, these teams are way better than I thought they would be. I know, right? And yeah, we've had times where, the young Horgan rink, they should have beat us the one year. We had no business. There's been 2 times. Joe Scharf back in 2000 and it was 11 or 12. I think it was 11. They should have beat us. And the Horgan rink on the island there on Manitoulin Island, they should have beat us as well. We escaped those games. I don't know how we won those games, right? But we just were able to hang in there. And sometimes, the thing is when you get into those finals, and we've been in many of them, I think the experience pays off, especially against some of the rinks who haven't been in those positions very often, or the younger teams. You just know that you have to hang in there because, as you guys know, being sports fans, crazy things happen in final games. And sure enough, we've seen that happen in Northern Ontario.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bob.
All right, Brad. So this is really cool for me. I've been when I was telling people that I had this chance to do this with you, I think about this quite often when I watch you. I went to Algoma University with Brad, and we had a whole bunch of classes together. And I specifically remember, Cups, we would be sitting in the back of Mr. Newbigging's class, and you were sitting there, and you would explain the game of curling to me. You would teach me everything that you knew about curling. And not only that, I remember asking you back then, what would it be like? Like, do you ever think you can make a career out of this? And from where curling was at that time, you said, absolutely not. I couldn't make a career out of this. But then all you talked about was how bad you wanted to make it to the Brier and what it would mean for you to play it in a Brier, right? So from a personal standpoint, just looking back at that was always really cool, to see where you were and to see where you've come.
Yeah, cool, man. Thanks. Yeah. That's a little trip down memory lane there. I like it.
Absolutely. So one thing, Brad, that I wanted to talk to you about is Jim touched upon a lot of things. I've heard this kind of referred to as like the golden era of curling in a sense, right? Where curling before had a reputation, with curlers and what curling used to be to where it is now. In my opinion, you guys and your team have a significant role in history in kind of evolving curling and evolving that game. How do you think that you guys have done that, and do you agree with that?
That's a good question. I kind of got to be careful how I answer it, I think. I would say our peers answer that question than kind of biasedly answer that question. But yeah, curling has evolved. Is it the golden age of curling right now? Absolutely. On the men's and women's side, I don't think the talent has ever been this good. The teams have never been this good. This many teams. Everyone's pretty young. It's really cool. Various teams are raising the bar. You just saw, I don't know if you watched, but the last 2 Grand Slams there and the World Championships, that young Mowat team from Scotland was unbelievable. Unbelievable. They've been obviously doing a lot of work behind the scenes during this COVID time and figured some things out. And you gotta tip your cap to them. And also when you play against them, and apparently we've never beat that team, which I found hard to believe, but it's true. Yeah. Haven't beat those guys, which is crazy. But you got to learn something from some of these young teams. And I'm 35 now, and I feel like one of the old guys. We talk about that. We're not the young team anymore. We were at one point, but not so much anymore. But it's a really special time to be involved in the sport. I do believe that over the years, you look back to that time that you were talking about when we did go to our first couple Briers and whatnot. I remember those times vividly. There was 2 teams in men's curling that really dominated. It was Howard and Martin. They were, always in finals against one another, all the big finals, the Grand Slams, the Canada Cups, the Briers, the Olympic trials, various larger World Curling Tour events. It was just a 2-team show pretty much. And for the most part, Martin was just a little bit better back then, and now it's not even close. I think that those two teams, when we were younger coming up, we really looked up to those teams, and we tried to emulate and learn from them as much as possible. And also from the fitness side of things, we sort of raised the bar there, I know. But I think teams have been cigarettes and beer in their hands. Absolutely. That's decades ago now. But, a lot of teams have sort of over the years raised the bar a little bit. And I think the cool thing about our team was we were 4 young guys right from lead to skip that won on a very large stage. That won pretty much everything you could win: the Brier, the Olympics, the trials, undefeated. It's all there. You can go look it up, right? We haven't won enough. It doesn't matter it's not what you've won. It's what have you won lately. But we got to win something here soon. But we raised the bar a little bit for sure. And I think it maybe set the tone for a lot of younger teams going, holy smokes, because we won in the era that Howard and Martin and Stoughton were still very relevant and at the top of the sport at that time. And we were able to triumph against those teams and win some big things, which was really cool. And I think it gave a lot of younger teams belief that if they could do it, then so could we. What are they doing differently? And then, and the fitness sort of side of the game really started to take off.
Yeah, it's funny. That's what I wanted to mention too, was the fitness side of the game. Okay, from a guy who's curled about 6 or 7 times in my life, I don't think people appreciate the physicality of curling. The sweeping part, just the sweeping aspect, to have to sweep, sometimes you guys are playing, 2 games a day, to sweep all those ends consistently, the toll that takes on a body. And not only that, but even coming out of the hack and on your knees and those types of things. Can you just kind of talk about how physical training has really helped you guys and has it really kind of set you guys up onto the next level almost?
Yeah, I think that the mental, physical, emotional aspect of what we do is highly underrated. Yeah. Some of the long weeks of curling, what we put ourselves through in those 3 areas, the average person just has no idea. And we can't explain it to people what goes on. You just have to put yourself through it. The physical side of things, I know like Ryan and EJ, they're getting mid to late 30s now. They've been sweeping forever, and it's common to have aching backs, aching shoulders, pull a muscle in your neck, your joints, your knees, your hips, all that stuff starts to wear out. I heard Brad Gushue say once, it's kind of like a pitcher in that sense. It's that same repetitive motion over and over and over again, and it takes a toll. So the being strong core wise, having mobility and flexibility combined with strength and conditioning, we need to have all of that. And, I've been working over the last almost couple of years now, always had someone help us out, and I've had some great people help me out personally. And we've had great people help out our team on the physical aspect of things. But right now, and being 35, we got to take the physical fitness side more seriously than we ever have. So I work with Tyler Belanger. He owns 17 Barbells here in Sault Ste. Marie. He's a really good buddy of mine. And I've never felt so good since I started training with him.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about your evolution as well. So, we talked about how early on in your career, man, you guys were just bolts of lightning out there. The energy, and everyone kind of fed off your energy. And it was amazing to watch. And as your career has progressed, we've kind of seen you, kind of rein that in a little bit. Can you kind of talk about kind of almost like the 2 Jacobs and what led to that evolution and the difference in your game?
Yeah. It's, that the sort of emotion that we brought to the sport, especially when we were winning, it's easy for that stuff to naturally come out in big moments. Mm-hmm. And that still happens today. Some of the most memorable moments are definitely from, our heyday back in, 2013, 14, 15, when we had a lot going on. We were winning a lot. So yeah, we were, when we were younger, we couldn't sustain being that up and down emotionally forever. We knew that was probably going to come to an end somewhat at some point, because we were so volatile. and we laugh now, like we all laugh about it now, right? EJ and myself, and even Fry, and now we're with Mark, who I think calmed us down a little bit more. But it went both ways. If things were not going our way, we were on the emotional side of things. We would show that frustration, wear emotions on our sleeves, it would work against us, but it would also work in our favor sometimes. I don't know if you remember this, guys, but back when we were at the Olympics, before the final game, the Scottish coach commented how he didn't like how we play. Yeah. He didn't like the emotion. It's not good for the game, all this. And hey, maybe he was right, but hey, some people loved it, some people hated it. Whatever. You know what? I'm a big fan of Tiger Woods. People didn't like, he's an idol of mine. People didn't like what he brought to the game early on. I mean, arguably the best golfer of all time. And I love the emotion that guy brings to the sport, or anyone. So, we've used it. It's been there in our favor, and it's also been a detriment. I think we're a little bit calmer now, but you can bet your butt if we do something, exciting and special, we're probably still going to go nuts.
You kind of touched on this a little bit, but I remember early on, and to your point, you just talked about it. I remember that you guys were criticized early on for the emotion, and it's funny you brought that up about the Olympics, because I was going to talk about that specifically. When you were getting criticized for the emotion, I do think that, again, you were kind of breaking molds in a way, right? And that's what the team was doing, which was amazing. And people who change things obviously get criticized. Did you guys feed off of that criticism, or did a part of you often think, maybe they're right, maybe we should tone it down because it's not right, or it's not in the tradition?
No, never thought about toning it down because of that. But you know what? You're right. Like anything that's sort of revolutionary is going to stir up critics. Yep. And we knew that. And we were okay with that. I'm still okay with that today. I hope someone else goes and does it. Hey, you know what? We realized, and I think it was Mark who said it back in the 2013 Brier in Edmonton. He said, you've made it when people love you, and equally they don't love you. They hate you, or they don't like you, right? That's how you've made it, is when you have those critics. So I think we embraced it pretty well. I also think that back then, when people would look at our team and write negative things about us on social media, comments, tweets, whatever, we would read a little bit too much of that stuff and let it get in our heads a little bit. I don't read any of that crap anymore. I just don't. I just be me. We just try to do what we can to be ourselves, go out and compete hard, and whatever happens naturally, right? So we've been criticized. It's all good. And we embrace it. I remember last year we were at a Grand Slam, and we were playing a game in Newfoundland, and Newfoundland has Brad Gushue. Yeah. They have Brad Gushue. Like that is their team. That's their team in probably all sport, right? So they worship him. And then you've got Brad Jacobs. So it's pretty obvious. They're not going to really like us naturally. Yeah. And I ended up, we ended up losing our first game there, and I hit my broom against the foam, and the head popped off, and people started booing me, and it was in like an afternoon game or something. And I was like, wow, I think that's the first time I've ever been booed before. I found out afterwards the reason why they booed me, because I was like, that's a little harsh. I mean, I banged my broom, the head popped off, and they didn't like that. But I found out later that I guess the volunteer was putting up the score on the scoreboard, and it kind of brushed their leg. Oh. And that's why they booed me. And I found that out like on the weekend. And I went up to the person and I signed a broom and I gave it to them, and they said, Brad, it didn't hit me. You don't have to do this. I don't even know what you're talking about. And I said, well, we were booed. I was booed, and I just want to make sure you're okay. But from that point on, we actually went and won that event.
Yeah.
And we embraced the villain role, call it.
That's awesome. Yeah. One thing I always wondered, man, and knowing you growing up, again, is that, that intensity. I can't imagine. There has been so many times. Okay, first of all, I watch every curling event now because of you guys. Like, I just love curling, men's, women's. I do. I love it.
Sweet.
I don't understand how at times you guys can bite your tongue and not say anything when that mic's on. How long did that take you to kind of understand, or how do you even hold in that frustration knowing that I can't let anything go, right? Knowing that there's a mic on you.
Could you imagine if they mic'd up some of the hockey players, some of the golfers? I mean, it would be hilarious. I personally, I like that stuff. But you do have to be careful. There's fines, they'll give you fines.
Most of them,
And obviously the big reason why you don't want to do it though is because it offends people. And if there's any kids watching or whatever, we do the best that we can. But you're right, when you're in the moment and you're out there competing and it's intense and there's a lot on the line, and it can become very emotional, and sometimes you can lose sight of your emotions and let them get the better of you. We do the best that we can. All the teams do. We've been caught a few times. You say the wrong thing on TV, but for the most part, we try to do our best to respect everyone and play respectfully and I guess be good role models. It's tough though.
Oh yeah, I give you guys so much credit. I could never do that. All right, I got a few little rapid fire questions for you. So I'm going to fire off a couple. You can discuss these in as much or as little detail as you'd like. And a lot of these are going to be tough for you because I know that you have so many. So if you have to think about it for a second, that's fine too.
Fire away.
In your opinion, what's the best shot you ever made?
I would say the one that pops in my head right away is 2013 trials against Kevin Martin in the round robin when we made a little board weight sort of double run back for the win and we went nuts. Yeah. By far the best shot. And I was come on in the crowd. I was going like that.
Yeah, that was awesome. I do remember that. What's your most memorable shot?
Most memorable shot. It's probably that shot. But I don't want that to be the answer. Let's go with like what the second most memorable shot maybe. It's kind of hard to say. I got so many of them, right? We got so many of them. You know what's a good one? It's not mine. Back in 2016 Ottawa Brier, Fry made a ridiculous shot with two guards, corner guards, and he hit them both, rolled for a center guard, and the one that he hit rolled buried to the button. We didn't win that game, and Mark Nichols made a run back after, but that shot was disgusting. Yeah.
What's the worst shot you ever made in a tournament?
Well, I remember going to win our first World Curling Tour event. We were going to win. We didn't win, obviously. We suffered from when we were on the World Curling Tour when we were younger. We lost something like 8 or 9 quarterfinals in a row. And when you play all week and you make it to the playoff round, losing the quarterfinals is awful. It's awful because it's like you get the least amount of money possible. You're hoping you broke even that weekend. And it sucks because anyway, so we broke through the quarterfinal, we broke through the semifinal, and we were in control in this game in Gatineau, Quebec against Jean-Michel Menard, and I completely blew the game for us. We gave up a steal of 2 with hammer, so we had the hammer. We gave up a steal of 2 in the 8th and a steal to lose the game, and I don't think my mouth did not open. I did not speak a word for, I'd say, at least 2 hours. I was sick to my stomach.
Oh, yeah, that's not good. Is there a shot that haunts you still to this day?
Haunts me. Yeah, there's probably a few. I'd say in that same Brier 2016, we were undefeated in that Brier, and Fry feather ticked a corner guard in the rings. I think we kind of blew the line call, and he didn't throw it great, and feather ticked it in the rings, and Cooey's team beat us on a measure and went on to win the Brier and the Worlds.
Oh, yeah.
That sucks.
Where's your favorite place to curl not in Sault Ste. Marie?
I would anywhere in Western Canada. I'd say anywhere in Western Canada is great. Kingston was unreal last year. There's a lot of really great places. I'd say Western Canada though, because in my experience, they are the most knowledgeable curling fans.
Wow.
Yeah.
You visited a lot of countries throughout your curling career. What's the coolest country you had to play? You guys had the chance to visit?
Well, Russia was cool, but I'd say it would be probably Scotland because we got to go play some golf. It was really cool. We golfed Carnoustie and St. Andrews.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
In January, it was freezing.
Oh, what was your "I made it" moment in curling?
My what?
What was your "I made it" moment? When's the moment in your career when you realized, hey, like I've made it, like I've done it, I've made the big time?
Yeah, I would definitely say when we won the Olympics. You know what? And I have the medal right here. And I never really.
I was gonna ask for that. So
looks like my wife hid it on me.
Yeah.
I don't know where it is.
Oh, geez.
I'm gonna have to give her heck.
Yeah.
I might have put it in the drawer here, but I'd say, hold on. I know that people are watching now.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
I don't know what she did with it.
Just an Olympic gold medal. Just
found a knife.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But no, when we won the Olympics, man, that's for sure. Yeah.
Did you find there was more pressure when you played in the Sioux?
Yes. Yeah, a little bit, not much. That was really special when we won. I think it was 2017.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really, really awesome when we won that event in the Sioux.
Throughout your career, you don't have to answer this question, but throughout your career, who's the most difficult team you ever played against?
Most difficult team, probably a toss-up between Howard's team back in the day when we were young coming up. They beat us a ton, taught us a lot. And I would say also over the last number of years, Gushue's team. Yeah, great teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, for this rapid fire question, what's the best pizza in Sault Ste. Marie? It's a question we ask everybody.
Wow. That's the toughest question.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what to say. There's too many to choose from. Once again, I mean, I think that's a toss-up. We usually go with the safe bet, Aurora's.
Yeah.
But man, there's so many. Like we also get sick of it because we have it so much. And my good buddy Clint, he owns Clint Berdeniak owns Domino's in town. I think it's the best Domino's pizza. When we're away playing, we always go with the safe bet Domino's, and I'd say Clint is by far the best Domino's we've ever had here in Sault Ste. Marie because he's up against a lot of tough competition.
Yeah. Sorry, two more quick ones. A lot of people see the glory of being a curler. What's the hardest part about being a professional curler on today's circuit?
Being away from your family.
Yeah,
by far, because it's not glamorous, man. It's really not. It's you're away for weeks at a time. We just got back, but you travel often. You miss the family, they miss you, and it's certainly something that for me as I get older now, and as I see the kids getting older. I want to be there as much for them as I can. I used to, when I was younger, just to wrap it up, I'll try to be quick, but when I was younger, I used to see these guys retire when they were like in their 30s and early 40s and think to myself, I can't believe they're retiring. They're still so good and in like their prime, like they're crazy. Yeah. And now I get it. Mm-hmm. Now I get it. I think we were very fortunate guys to have the success that we had, I was 27 when we won the Brier, 28 when we won an Olympic gold medal. How many guys and gals out there wish that they could do that early? There's a lineup of them. We're very grateful and fortunate to have won the things that most people don't win. And we won them early. So hopefully we don't have to play forever because, want to be with family.
Yeah, it's funny because, again, I watch curling, like I said, quite a bit nowadays. And it's amazing the commitment. If I just take Rachel Homan, for example. I mean, Rachel Homan was curling at the Scotties, and then she had her baby, and then she was curling, 6 weeks later or something? 3 weeks later, and she was curling again. It seems to me that the game has grown at such a level that, and I think you guys are a huge, huge part of that. And I do think that, you guys did kind of help push curling along and get young people and get a whole new group of fans involved. And I think you guys deserve the credit for that, because I do think that you had a big role in that.
Yeah, well, thanks, man. And we tried to do that. That was intentional. We wanted to appeal to a younger audience. We wanted it to be exciting and do things differently, sort of shake the tree a little bit, and do what we could to help the next generation of young curlers, look at this sport a little bit differently, and they have. And back to Rachel, crazy athlete. To be able to do that 3 weeks after and go out and win too, let alone just play, is phenomenal. So amazing.
So before we let you go, we always give people the opportunity, if there's anyone that you wanted to do a shout out to, or if there's anyone that you wanted to thank, and especially, people who helped you growing up, and if there's anything that you wanted to say about your family and kind of the support that they've shown you throughout this as well.
Yeah, thanks, man. So definitely, first person that comes to mind, my wife, unbelievable. She's been beside me this whole time. And, when we went to the Brier back in 2013, she couldn't come to the Brier because she already had committed to one of her girlfriends that she'd stand up in a destination wedding in, I think it was Jamaica or something. So we won the Brier in Edmonton, and she was on the beach in Jamaica. And she left the house while I was away. And I came home, and she had this big banner hung on our bed, said congratulations. And I looked at it and I said, how did that get? Obviously she hung it there, but she didn't know that we were going to win.
Yeah.
So, she went out on a limb to put that up. She had the faith and the belief that we were going to win, and we did. It was crazy. That could have been a disaster if we didn't. Congratulations on what, 4th?
Yeah,
right? But
that's amazing. Yeah.
But you know what? She's my number one, just everything. And without her, none of this would be possible. So definitely her and all of our sponsors that we have, Northern Credit Union, Coyote Tractor, Nobis, Kingsville, Hardline, just to name a few. And Arthur Perlini, our sports psychologist, Rick Lang, our coach. Obviously want to thank my guys, Ryan, EJ, and Mark. My buddy, good buddy Fry. We've had so many good times together, and we wish him all the best. His dad's not doing well right now, so we're thinking of their family, and of course my uncles Al and Eric. And hey, man, I could go on forever, but I think another big thanks to you guys for doing this, and also to the city of Sault Ste. Marie and all of Northern Ontario who's been along for this ride, and hopefully there's lots more to come. And they've always been in our corner, and we appreciate that more than words can explain.
Yeah, you know what, Brad, there's so much more that I had written down that we didn't even get a chance to touch upon. So, we can carry on this conversation a little bit further, hopefully down the road. But One thing I wanted to say just before we let you go was going back to when I was in class with you. And that was when, I won't say names, but that's when that whole fiasco was coming up with, are they going to pull Northern Ontario from the Brier? You remember that whole controversy with the Team Canada and all that type of stuff. And I remember you saying, my goal, or our goal as a team, is to put Northern Ontario back on the map and to keep Northern Ontario alive. So on on behalf of Northern Ontario, thank you for doing that because you did a hell of a job. So you guys deserve a lot of credit. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. Yeah. Lots more to come. And I want to thank my parents too, my mom and dad, Bob and Cindy. Forgot about that. But anyways,
awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Cubs.
You, Brad. Great.
Okay, but take care.
Take
care, boys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You too.